All right, let's go. Page 250, the Art Scroll Chumash. You going to see Mashas tomorrow? No? You going?
Nope.
No,
Are you going?
I'm not going. I was just there 7.5 years ago. No, but
Me
everyone
too.
should go.
Exactly.
Okay, that's why? Yeah. That was a good experience.
Yeah, if I didn't go.
You could get free tickets if you call Ura.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've been trying to get me to go. But
You should do it. All right, so let's recap where we are in the Parsha.
I'll go next time.
You got to finish us next time. Start.
Next 7 years, he'll be so old.
It's going to be told to go.
Right, so we had Yosef being sold into slavery by his brothers, because we talked at great length a few weeks ago about how the brothers thought that Yosef was trying to either kill them in Olam Hazar or Olam Haba, and we brought the diuk from Rav Hirsch, that they actually felt that Yosef was really from the Sforno, this diuk, that the brothers actually thought Yosef wanted to murder them when he came to find them in Shechem. That they actually thought that, and that's why they destroyed him. It's very interesting.
Never heard that.
Yeah, I don't know if you were here for this week's that week's class, but he says the brothers, they went to Shechem without Yosef because that was the place where they came together as a family for the first time to rescue Dinah. So they felt that Yosef was a threat to the family, so that's why they all went there to go discuss their strategy, what they're going to do to deal with Yosef. And they went specifically to that place, which was 80 kilometers away from Hebron, to deal with that. And then all of a sudden Yosef comes, like, oh my God, he's here to fight with us and destroy us, and that's why they sold him. So it's brings a whole new dimension to the story, which I thought was very interesting. But the Rav Hirsch and the Sforno talk about that. So anyway, so he was sold. We know he winds up in Potiphar's house, then he gets thrown in jail. He interprets the dreams of Paro's servants, and then where we discussed how he got punished for an extra 2 years and what his sin was, and what specifically was the lack of bitachon here, or why was it a problem that he tried to help himself by telling the Saramashkim to remember him to Paro. But anyway, he was punished with 2 more years in jail, and then he interprets Paro's dreams that there's going to be a famine in Egypt and the whole world really. And therefore, Paro appoints him as second in command in Egypt. And then, after he's second in command, Egypt is the only land that has enough food, because Yosef knew it was coming. And the rest of the world doesn't have anything to eat, and they all come down to Egypt to get food to bring back. And then, that includes Yosef's brothers. They're sent by Yaakov to Egypt to go get food. And the brothers do not recognize Yosef, and they come first. And then they go back, but Yosef keeps Shimon there, and he says that he's not going to release Shimon unless Binyamin comes down, right? And then Binyamin comes down with the brothers. They're reluctant to do that because this is the only child of Rachel that is still alive, or that Yaakov thinks is still alive, and they're reluctant to do it. But they come down with Binyamin, and as they're about to leave, Yosef has his servants plant a goblet in Binyamin's backpack, and they catch him. And Yosef says he wants to keep Binyamin there, and that's where we are in this week's Parsha. And we are going to start, let's read some verses about Yehuda steps forward, as ArtScroll tells us on the side, and tries to persuade Yosef not to keep Binyamin, and he still does not know that it's Yosef. Vayigash elav Yehuda v'yomer bi Adoni yidaber na avdecha davar ba'aznei Adoni v'alyichar abcha b'avdecha. Don't get mad at your servant. Ki kamocha keparo, you are like Paro. Adoni sha'al asavad of lemor. You asked your servant, saying, Hayesh lachem avo ach. Do you have a brother or a father? V'nomer al Adoni yesh lanu av zakein. We told you we have an elderly father. V'yeled zekunim katan. He has a young son that he had in his old age. V'achiv meis, his brother died. V'yivaser hu levado le'imo v'aviv ahevo. And he's all that's left from his mother, and our father loves him. His father loves him. V'tomer alavadecha hariduhu elai v'asimu eini alav. And you said to bring him down. V'nomer al Adoni, we told our master, meaning Yosef, lo yuchal hanar la'azav es aviv, the youth cannot abandon his father. V'azav es aviv ames. If he abandons his father, he'll die. But tomer alavadecha im lo yerid achicha makaton itchem lo sosifun liras panai. He says, if you don't come back, right, he's recounting all the events. If you don't come back with Binyamin, then don't come and see me. Vayiki alinu el avdecha avi v'neged lo eis divrei Adoni v'yomer avinu shuvu shivru lono me'at oichel v'nomer lo nuchal loredes im yesh achinu akaton itanu v'yaradnu ki lo nuchal liros pnei eish v'achinu akaton einu itanu. Right, you said that if we don't bring Binyamin with us, then you won't see us. So let's skip down to Pasuk Lamed Aleph. Now he's saying, Yosef wants to keep Binyamin there, right? And what's part of the argument that Yehuda has to release Binyamin? He says in Pasuk Lamed Aleph,
To release Binyamin.
Yosef is saying, I'm not going to let Binyamin go because he's a thief.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Okay.
So Yehud is arguing to let Binyamin go. So the pasuk says, "V'haya kiroso ki ein hanar v'ames v'haridu avadecha es sevas avdecha avinu biyagon she'ola." Yehuda says to Yosef that if our father sees that the youth is missing, that Binyamin doesn't come back, he's going to die, and he's going to die. In the morning, the sorrow will bring him to the grave. So the Beis Levi asks, simple question: what does that have? What kind of argument is that? If you're in a court of law and somebody is accused of stealing something, what kind of defense is it to say that if you put this fellow in jail, his father's going to die? That doesn't work in court. Okay, maybe, but this fellow, he stole. So what in the world are you trying to say? What kind of argument is that? So the Beis Levi points out that this is really a principle in all of Judaism, really, that anytime someone's punished, right, that affects his relatives and his friends and relatives, right? Someone dies, that affects his friends and relatives. Something only happens, Hashem only does something to somebody with the cheshbon that everybody deserves, they're going to get how they were affected. Everyone who's affected by it will get what they deserve, meaning someone's relative dies, that relative died for whatever reason, Hashem has his reasons, but every person that person knew, his family and friends, they are going to experience a very sad time and they're going to be mourning. So Hashem knows that also those people that are affected, they'll deserve it. Right? And he goes on to explain the Beis Levi that when a person sins, I added that part for myself, but the Beis Levi is really saying that when a person sins, his parents share some of the blame. Right? Because had they raised their child correctly, really done a better job of parenting, the child wouldn't have stolen. Only parents that leave their children to do whatever and don't watch over them carefully will end up stealing. And he brings an example, the Naira Hamurasa, a young woman who is betrothed to be married, who commits adultery, she's stoned. Where is she stoned? At her father's door. Because we're saying that if you taught your daughter better, she would not have done this. She would not have committed this adultery, and therefore she is stoned on the father's house to demonstrate that the father bears some of the responsibility. So what...
Does it include adopted parents too?
I don't believe so. I think it's just... the Torah says it by... biological. I assume it's biological parents. I wouldn't assume otherwise.
What if she's an orphan, like Esther, Hamanka?
You're saying, what if an orphan is a Naira Marasa and commits adultery? It's a technical question. I would assume, again, I'm not 100% sure, I would assume that they're not in this halacha. But as he says, the concept of the halacha in general, obviously in every halacha there's going to be exceptions, but the concept is that the parents are responsible. So he says here, that's what Yehuda was saying, that in this case, he says in verse 22, you see that Binyamin was always with Yaakov. Yaakov wouldn't let Binyamin go. We said only a thief is a person who the parents don't care about and lets them wander freely and they end up stealing, but Binyamin was always with Yaakov. So in this case, you can't keep Binyamin here because my father doesn't deserve to suffer having Binyamin taken away because he bears zero responsibility for Binyamin's actions if he was a thief. And that's what the Beis Levi says why Yehuda was specifically arguing that point. And just my own comparison, I think a shogeg, right? Someone who commits a sin by accident, they don't know that on Shabbos you're not allowed to cook, so they cook a hamburger on Shabbos. So they're shogeg, they didn't know. So they don't get stoned because they didn't do it on purpose, they didn't know it was a sin, but they do have to bring a sacrifice because they did something by accident. So what do you mean it was by accident? Why have to bring a sacrifice? No, because you bear some responsibility, because had you learned and had you been more careful, you wouldn't have done. Someone wouldn't have done that sin, which is a very important concept. Sometimes we think, it was an accident; it's not such a big deal. We have to keep in mind that we're held responsible for even accidental violations of the law, because really we could have been more careful and have learned and studied more.
They bring a korban katas, right?
I believe so. Yes. Yes. Okay. So now, this is the most, as Rabbi Vishnevsky once said, this is the most dramatic, climactic part of the Torah, I think. So now Yehuda is arguing with him, don't keep Binyamin here. Let's go to Perek Mem Hey, Pasuk Aleph. And after all this, now remember, the brothers don't know it's Yosef yet, as we know. V'lo yochel Yosef. Oh, did you ever see Joseph in an Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat? I never saw it. I wonder if is this part of it? I wonder if this episode is part of the movie. because I have to look this up because this is very exciting.
It's a movie or a cartoon?
Oh, it's I'm
show?
sure a Broadway show. I don't know. Oh, maybe it's not a movie.
I have no idea.
Okay, we have to research this. But this is a very dramatic scene that should be in a movie. Okay. Yosef was not able to contain himself in front of all the people standing there. Vayikra. Hotziu kol ish me'alai. He says, remove everyone from before me. V'lo amad ish ito be'izvad Yosef alachav. And there was nobody standing there when Yosef made himself known to the brothers. Ve'itenes kol b'vchi. He gave up his voice in a cry. Ve'yishmu Mitzrayim ve'yishma beis Paro. And Egypt heard and the house of Paro heard. Vayomer Yosef el achiv. Echov. Yosef said to his brothers, Ani Yosef ha'od avichai. I am Joseph. Is my father still alive? V'lo yachlu echov la'anusaso. The brothers were not able to answer him. Ki nivhalu mipanav. Because they were, as ArtScroll translates it, disconcerted. I couldn't think of another word to translate nivhalu. They were whatever. Verschummelt. What?
Shocked.
Shocked. Shocked is good. And yeah, we'll go with shocked.
Dumbfounded.
Dumbfounded. Okay.
How do they say in Russian?
We'll have to go through the language. Call your mom. Vayomer Yosef alachav gishuna elai v'yigashu. He says, come close. He says to his brother, come close. Vayomer ani Yosef achichem. I am Yosef, your brothers. I am Yosef, your brother. Asher mechartem osi Mitzrayim. Would you sold me to Mitzrayim? Va'ata al te'atzvu va'al yichar b'einechem ki mechartem osi. Don't worry about selling me. Ki l'mechiyah shalachani Elokim lifnechem. God sent me there that you should live, right? That I should be in charge of Mitzrayim, that we should have food. Ki zeh shenasayim harav. These are the years of famine. B'kerev haaretz v'od chamesh shanim asher ein charish v'katzer. There's going to be 5 more years of famine. Vayishlacheni Elokim lifnechem lashum lachem she'eris ba'aretz lachayos lachem lifleita gedolis. Sent me here as to be as salvation, deliverance. Now, some interesting questions the Beis Halevi raises. First of all, why is Yosef asking, is my father still alive? If you remember, we just read on the previous page, Yehuda kept arguing with Yosef, please don't keep Binyamin here, because he'll die, my father will die, when he doesn't see Binyamin here. If we don't come back with Binyamin, my father's going to die, Yaakov's going to die. So why is Yosef right here saying, is my father still alive? Did you not just listen to everything Yehuda just said?
So either he's lying or Yehuda was lying to him.
You think Yosef assumed Yehuda was lying to him?
He doesn't know. I mean, they sold him to Egypt.
Are you just saying that Yosef thought they were totally devious and now they were like tricking him?
Just making sure. Like
checking. Checking. There, I did see a shot like that. I saw Rav Moshe Einstein, I believe, says that pshat, that when he wanted them to say it so it would be more real to him. I did see a pshat like that. Beis Halevi doesn't go with that. Mahalach. That's any other?
Another thing, I heard that. Is he like still like holy or something? Like is he still like holy on the same level?
Oh, that I didn't see. That's interesting. Why would he ask that right now? He was asking about his religious level.
I'm not sure. Okay, what were you gonna say?
No. I want to hear the pshat. I'm sure there's many explanations of why he was saying this.
There's a mem lois, but I can't remember what it was.
Okay, you have to text me when you remember. And furthermore, if you notice in the first pasuk, he's going to say, when he first says, I'm Yosef, and then later he says, I'm Yosef, your brother. Mm-hmm. So why first did he say, I'm Yosef, and then he says, I'm Yosef, your brother? So, right, but he didn't say that at first. Right. He says, I'm Yosef. The brothers were disconcerted, and then he says, I'm Yosef, your brother. Don't worry about it. So why say I'm Yosef? Then they were disconcerted, and then I'm Yosef, your brother.
He himself, and then he saw that they were like distressed. So he's like, I'm Yosef, your brother. I'm not afraid. I'm not.
Are you saying you once you saw they were distressed? Okay.
Right. Like we're still good.
Meaning that I'm not like you. I'm still your brother. Even after you sold me, I'm still your brother.
Why didn't you say that at the beginning, though?
He has to.
He's leading up to it.
He's directing a movie, so he has to.
Nah. Yeah. He wasn't Spielberg, chas v'shalom.
No, all this is orchestrated by Yosef. He orchestrated everything.
Right. Why?
Come back.
Right, but why is he doing it this way? What's he trying to show? So I'll say, you give very good answers. You give very also. The Beis Halevi starts with the Medrash, and the Medrash starts to answer it, but it makes it even more confusing, and then he explains the Medrash. So let's see the Medrash on this pasuk. Medrash writes, I'm going to summarize parts of it. It says, Abba Kohen Bar Omer. You probably heard this, is very famous. Oy lanu miyom hadin, oy lanu miyom hatochacha. This is the Medrash on this pasuk that Yosef raised his voice out in a cry. Woe to us from the day of judgment, woe to us from the day of rebuke. He says, Bilam was rebuked by his donkey. right? The donkey yelled at him, and he couldn't take it. Yosef here, the smallest, the youngest, or one of the youngest of the tribes, was rebuking his brother and his brothers, and the brothers could not stand the rebuke. So he says, if that's so, right, because they were disconcerted as soon as he said, "I'm Yosef." So the Medrash continues and says, can you imagine what's going to be for us on our day of judgment? I believe the Medrash continues like that.
Yes, I read that.
Yes, okay. I can't see it right. I don't see it right now. Maybe I didn't copy the whole Medrash, but yeah. It's comparing it to our day of judgment. Now, so point out the Beis Halevi, right? Where do you see Tochacha here? What's going on? I am Yosef. Why? Tochacha means I'm rebuking you. I see you do something wrong.
Is whom you sold into Egypt.
No, he's not going on that pasuk. The Medrash is going on the pasuk of Vayitenes Koli B'Bechi. He raised up his voice in crying, and then the next pasuk comes right after. It says, "I am Yosef. Is my father still alive?" So he writes like this. And remember our first question. Why is Yosef asking that, is my father still alive? Yehuda just said. So he doesn't go with the other answers you said. The Beis Halevi says Yosef knew his father was alive, and he wasn't asking a question. It was a rhetorical question. He says, B'lashon Tamiya, meaning, and that was the rebuke, meaning, I am Yosef. Is my father still alive? Meaning everything you put my father through by selling me.
That's what Moy says.
Oh, Beis Halevi goes on this. Everything you put me through.
Right.
By selling me through slavery for 22 years or whatever it was, and my father's still alive,
right.
And now you come at me telling me that my father can't handle Binyamin being sold, and that's the biggest rebuke. The Beis Halevi says, what is the wording of the Medrash? Oy lanu miyom hadin, oy lanu miyom hatochacha. What are the two things, the day of judgment and the day of rebuke? It says when a person, after 120 goes up, Hashem is going to judge him on two things. One, the actual action that he did he sin? Or did he not sin? That's Yom Hadin. Tochacha is to see, are his maisim consistent? Are his deeds consistent? Meaning sometimes a person could say, I couldn't give charity, I didn't have a lot of money. And the Beis Halevi actually says it's not really a valid excuse because we have trust in Hashem, though even if we're poor, we can give charity and Hashem will provide for us. But he says it's a somewhat of an excuse. A person says, I'm poor, I couldn't give charity. So Hashem says, oh yeah? Well, how come you used all that money to go on a vacation or to buy a TV or to do something else and you couldn't give charity? Meaning, in addition to the actual actions that we're going to be judged for, Hashem will judge us by showing us through our own actions that we're not being consistent and our excuses aren't good excuses. And that's what Yosef was doing here. That's what the Tochacha is, that I'm Yosef, I'm Yosef, I'm Yosef, my father's still alive, meaning I'm Yosef. You claim now that you have to bring Binyamin back because my father can't handle this. Well, I'm Yosef. You sold me 22 years ago. My father handled it fine. You didn't care then. Now you care? And that's the biggest rebuke. He's showing them from their own actions the falsity, if that's a word, I think it is, the untruth of their statement. And if Beis Halevi adds a point, which I didn't realize, but it's really obvious when you read the Psukim. Yosef knew who the brothers were at this point. The brothers didn't know it was Yosef, and they didn't know that Yosef forgave him. Mm-hmm. All they know is that we sold our brother 22 years ago. Right? What was the last thing? Our brother wants to kill us. We sold him. They thought they did the right thing. And all of a sudden now, they're in Egypt, and the second in command is Yosef, who they think wanted to kill them, and now he's totally in control and could totally kill them if he wants. They don't know we forgave them. So they were petrified. That's why they were so disconcerted. And only after that, and he didn't say Achiv. At first, Yosef doesn't say, I'm your brother. And they were nervous, he's not showing us any love. He's not saying he's his brother. He's just saying, I'm Yosef. Like, oh my God, he's going to kill us. Look what we did. We were totally wrong. He's going to kill us. And then he says, don't worry, I'm Yosef, your brother. It's fine that I got sold here. It was all part of Hashem's plan. And that's how the Beis Halevi explains that. It wasn't a question. He was not asking, is my father alive? Because he knew. Yehuda just told him that his father's alive. Rather, it was a statement of shock. It was a statement of he says, Lashon Tamiya, not sarcasm, but a rebuke. That I'm Yosef, my father's still alive, meaning you sold me and didn't care about our father. Now all of a sudden you care. I'm showing you from your own actions that they are inconsistent.
Well, because also Binyamin is the only other child left of Rachel, so maybe it's going to be even harder in Yaakov to lose him too, after losing one son.
As opposed, what do you?
As opposed to losing just Yosef, which is obviously a big deal, but now lose the other son of.
Right. Yeah, of
Rachel?
course it would be just as bad. It would be just as bad for sure. You're saying it'd be worse in a way.
Right.
You're saying now they care. That's a little shred though. The Yehuda should now care but didn't care before.
Mhm.
He's showing that you're trying to make it like you really, really care about
No,
Yaakov, but you don't.
I'm not saying Yehuda doesn't care. I'm saying like Yehuda thinks like it would be like too much for Yaakov, like to lose the other son.
Yeah, for sure.
So that like
For sure.
from what he said, like that might kill him.
Right. It might kill him, but he doesn't care enough about Yaakov. If he really cared that much
People,
about
at that
Yaakov
point,
as
people
presenting
like
it.
Yosef was evil, right? So they thought.
Right, but still, they didn't take into the account
Right.
when they did that. They didn't take into account how their father would, would.
Well, if they were saving themselves, I guess.
Oh, you're trying to say that maybe they still did the right thing. We did speak about a few weeks ago how the brothers seem to only regret. I forgot what the pasuk is. The brothers seem to only regret that they were insensitive to listening to Yosef's pleas because they really did the right thing. It could be now. I'm just speculating here. It could be now they realize they did the wrong thing because this is a little inconsistent with what we said a few weeks ago. But now Yosef's telling them that this was all part of Hashem's plan. That that wouldn't show it's the wrong thing.
They already realized that they did something wrong even before here, like last week's parsha, when they found the money in the bag. They already realized that
Oh, right.
something strange going
Hashem's
on.
sponsoring us.
Right. They already realized that.
Right. I was just saying from I think it was Rav Hirsch that we saw. Maybe it was Ramban also. I don't remember. I have to check. That from one of the verses it says they were only
Yeah,
regretted.
I remember
They only regretted that they were insensitive to Yosef. So for sure they recognized they sinned. The question is, did they recognize that they sinned in being insensitive to Yosef or the actual selling of Yosef? So just Steve's pointing out if it was the actual selling of Yosef that they.
I don't think it's about being sensitive. I think about.
Well, I have to find that. I think it might be a Ramban, so I have to double check that and get back to you. It might be a Ramban.
Also, what's Yosef saying about it was Hashem's plan to bring you here? So like, I set up Egypt for you to move in, right?
Right.
But I don't know if that's like an inconsistency, but like Rabbi Kippur last Friday night he gave like a little drasha, like he speaks Friday nights. He said that the brothers didn't have to go to Egypt for food. They actually had plenty of food. The Hebrews. The only reason they went is because Yaakov told them that we don't want our neighbors to have like an evil eye on us, like to be jealous of us because none of them have food.
Do you know where he brought that from?
I don't know.
I'll ask him tomorrow. I'm not familiar with that. Maybe it was something obvious. Okay, let's. I just want to continue. Also, he makes another point that sometimes the inconsistency is also when it comes not just our actions but matters of faith. He said it's very people. When they read the Torah, they understand it says don't kill, don't steal, like logical laws people get. But all of a sudden, shatnez, all the time this happens. I can't wear wool and linen. That's ridiculous. God really wants you to do that, and they can't accept that.
Wrestlers' emails.
People can't. Well, someone actually wrote him today that there's no shatnez in the store because he doesn't have anything of wool and silk. So, not wool and linen. Anyway, that was a funny email. But the Beis Halevi points out that people often ask, and they get very arrogant when it comes to these Torah laws. They say, "Oh, God's telling us not to wear wool and linen." However, when it comes to other matters in their life, they accept them other things that would seem to defy logic a little bit in other areas of their life. They accept it very, very easily. I just thought there's a book called. When it comes to, let's say, atheism, you ever heard of the multiverse?
Yes.
So the multiverse. You ever heard of it? I'm not a scientist, but it's basically a theory. There's no proof to it. They are very bothered by the fact there are so many scientific physical constants and different constants like gravity and acceleration that have to be just so for the universe to have come into existence. And the probability that the universe came into existence with all of these constants is so ridiculously small, it's impossible that it happened by chance. So what do the scientists do? Theorize to show how there's no God, because it's impossible that it happened by chance, and they don't want to say that there's God directing it, so they say there's something called the multiverses. There's a multiverse. There are several universes, infinite amount of universes that exist on different planes of existence that we can't see or have any connection to, and they just came into existence, and we got lucky. Right, we're in the lucky one. So
that worked out.
the same people who reject parts of the Torah like shatnez and say, "Oh, this doesn't make any sense," they'll accept the multiverse without asking. Yeah. Right? They have faith. So that's the Beis Halevi is saying, in matters of faith, God will also slug us up, as it were. You're saying, oh, God, I couldn't believe in the Torah. I'm a logical person. I couldn't believe in shatnez or why I can't eat certain animals. Really? You accepted the multiverse. You didn't have proof for that. So God will show us also in our matters of faith the same thing. There's a book called, I don't have enough faith to be an atheist. There are certain axioms you have to accept to be an atheist that are really, really ridiculous. As Richard Dawkins said, evolution allows a person to be an intellectually fulfilled atheist. I mean, they're always looking for answers and looking for ways to explain. My Reshiva, Rabbi Feldman, had a student who was a outreach rabbi, and he debated a famous evolutionary scientist. I don't know who it was. I think it was in South Africa. They were debating, and he asked her very, very good questions on the theory of evolution. Just as an aside, whether scientists hold of evolution or not, most have serious questions, and even among scientists there are disputes. You have punctuated equilibrium and different theories of evolution. There's not like one solid theory that everyone agrees to. But he was debating this woman, this evolutionary biologist, and she got so frustrated because she couldn't answer a question. She says, evolution's true because I believe it's true. So meaning they also have faith. That's what I'm trying to get at. But God is going to show us the inconsistency of that. Oh, so just sort of what you were discussing before. Rav Simcha Zissel says on the pasuk, "Rabos machshavos believe each ba'asas Hashem tihitakum." There are many thoughts in the head of man, but the Eitzah of Hashem, that's what will be established. He says the whole story of Yosef, we really see that the brothers planned to kill Yosef by selling him, or just to get rid of him, and look what happened. He became the whole head of Mitzrayim, that people can think and plan and do whatever they want and try to accomplish what they want, but really Hashem's the one in charge, and Hashem...
God laughs.
Right, exactly. It sounds really good in Yiddish. I meant to look it up how to say it in Yiddish, but the phrase, that saying sounds so much better in Yiddish.
Yes.
But so he says it from that story, right? It's all in our lives. We try to do something, Hashem's the one in charge, and Yosef became the head of Egypt, and through that the Jews went down, they became enslaved, and we became a people. The whole genesis of our people happened that way. And just a quick story I want to finish off with. This is from the Vilna Gaon. This is actually, I got this story from the Pirchei Aguda sheet, like the kids thing. They used to hand that in their Yisrael to all the kids, like Parsha sheets, and they're really good. So I kept a lot of them. When Yosef wanted to send a message to his father that he was still alive, so he sent wagons, sent calves, because the last thing they learned together was Egla Rufa, which has to involve with cows. So why did he specifically send that message? Why was it that? So the Vilna Gaon, there's a story here regarding the Vilna. In Vilna, there was a woman whose husband disappeared shortly after they were married. And how long was it after? 30 years later, a guy comes and says, I'm your husband. And they went to the Bezdin. The Bezdin, it looks like it's her husband. He knew things that nobody else would have known, but the wife was a little suspicious. Mm-hmm. She wouldn't be with him. Something didn't seem right. So but every question they asked him, he knew. So they took him to the Vilna Gaon. You hear the story? Yeah. So
I see where you're getting at.
So the Vilna Gaon took him to the shul in Vilna, and he said, "Tell us where you used to sit before you left." And the guy couldn't do it. And he admitted that he was an imposter, and all the other information he had gotten from the husband. Mm-hmm. And he wasn't really the husband.
What happened to the husband? Died?
The story doesn't say.
Oh.
Yeah. The Vilna Gaon says, what was he doing? That someone who's a crook and a thief, he doesn't think about holy matters. Right? He would think to ask him everything about his life so that he would know, but he wouldn't think to ask him where he sits in shul. Someone who has those things on his mind, like a corrupt person, wouldn't have that have in his mind. So if Yosef would have sent a sign of just some random thing, Yaakov could have thought Yosef met somebody and he told him the signs, but only the real Yosef would think about what we were learning. We were studying Torah together, and therefore send that to me to show that he is really Yosef and that he's still alive. And all right, thanks for coming.
Russian.
What?
Russian.